Well, it has been exactly 5 days since you people elected Donald Trump to be the 45th president of the United States of America. Congratulations. My oh my, what do we have to look forward to now? I have gotten numerous messages, dozens, about wanting my opinion and how I feel, and overall, what do I have to say? And I'm going to touch on a few different points. I'm going to address certain questions that was, posed just for me. But let me start by saying this. I am grateful that Donald Trump ran for president, and I'm even more grateful that he actually won. I didn't vote for him, but I'm grateful because he was able to blow the top off of and pull the Band-Aid off of America in regards to their mindset that racism wasn't non-existent, or that it never existed, or it was dead, especially because there was a black president. Hell no. The first time he stood at the podium and said something racist, the people who voted for him were like, wow, now we finally got somebody that can openly say it, and I don't have to hide behind closed doors, because if he's saying it, now I can stand in support of him. Donald Trump won the presidency of the United States for two reasons, in my opinion. Two different sides of a parallel. On one side, this country was founded on racism. We know that. When the Constitution was written, Star Spangled Banner, all these things, blacks were slaves in this country. So let's not pretend like we don't know that, what the true foundation is. On the other side of it is an issue that he has spun around into something negative. The United States of America is the only place in the world that you can come to and not speak the language, not have any education, come in the door, sweeping the floors, and work your way up in that same company and become the CEO. This man was elected to be president of the United States and has no political background at all. Never served in the armed forces, none of it. But he made it from the start line all the way to the finish. So the same way a dream is able to be fulfilled for people who may not be qualified or started at the bottom and made it to the top, it's the same thing goes for him. Why is everybody upset? Why is everybody acting like they don't know what it is? I'm not here to tell anybody how to feel, because you can't tell me how to feel. But the question now is, black people, what are we going to do? Because we tend to get riled up real fast, real easy, and in a split second, we're on to something else. Now y'all want to wake up. Now y'all want to have something to say, because the leader of the free world, so to speak, coming in, is a bona fide racist out in the open. We've had many presidents that have been closeted racist, but this one here has had the balls to say out in public what they say behind closed doors. I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't drop insinuations. I state cold, hard facts when it comes to my opinion. Donald Trump is a racist. He's anti-Semitic. He's a bigot. He's homophobic. And he's sexist, amongst many things. And if you voted for him, you are one too. Because I could not vote for a man who built his platform from racism and try to spin it around and say, oh, but I'm not racist. I only voted for a change in America. Well, what's that change? Explain. What's that change? One of the first questions that was asked of me after it became official was by somebody I went to high school with who, he gives me a lot of grief. And somewhere along the lines, I don't know if he fell and bumped his damn head, because from what I can remember, he always dated white girls and white girls were his preference. And somewhere, over the last 18, 19 years, it has become, us against them type of thing. And he always gives me grief feeling like I worship, my white friends, because it's no secret I grew up in the predominantly white, Italian, Irish, Jewish area. And, counting us blacks, you can count us. And I've been the only black in the class and the only black cheerleader and so on and so forth. And he wanted to know how I felt, considering in his mind, he feels like I worship them more than my own. Yes, there are people that I thought I knew who voted for Donald Trump. There are people who I have laughed with, cried with, and everything who voted for Donald Trump. Nothing really surprises me. It more so shocked me. But what I will say is this. I am not going to sit up here and pretend and act like white people have not been good to me and my family. Because with the exception of 2 opportunities in my life, every other opportunity was given to me by somebody white, technically somebody Jewish, because my people don't help out each other. 2 opportunities that I've ever gotten in my 36 years came from black people. Everything else came from somebody white. So I'm not about to sit up here now that Trump has been elected and people I know have voted for him and then group those people with the ones that I know been real good to me, because that's not the case. I don't think I worship anybody. I speak from a truthful place. I know who's been there for me and mine, and who was there with my mama, who helped make sure that her and hers were straight. Because again, we blacks don't look out for each other. I don't understand how somebody could make a justification over them voting for Donald Trump and in the same breath say something to me like, oh, but you know me. You know, all my friends are black, or, you know, I love you like a sister girl, or you, no. And no. Because everything that man stands for, if he gets his way, my ass would be hanging from a tree. Or lashed to death, or have my head knocked off. We wouldn't even be able to sit side beside each other in a restaurant. So you voted for a man where that's his mentality. So don't tell me that you're not racist. Don't tell me you're not anti-Semitic. A lot of you I know who voted for this man knows that the closest person to my heart is somebody that's gay. We all got gay friends and family members and everything else, and Donald Trump openly said he gonna overturn and outdo everything President Obama has done. So how are you a teacher, a principal, a coach, and you are teaching children and interacting with children and people, even in an outside of an educational workplace, and you have people there that are gay? What message are you sending to them when you say, I voted for Donald Trump? Then you're saying that gay people should not be allowed to be married and have certain rights and, you know, the same thing that are basic human rights for everybody else. That's what you're saying. You can try to pretend that's not what you're saying, but that's what you said. You voted a man into office that was openly vocal about his acceptance and support of a rape culture. And most of y'all are mothers with daughters. This man is basically saying, I can go out there and do anything I want to a woman, and she better take it. Try me. Try me. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And the anger that you all that know me are feeling is because you've been called out. You should have known that. If you know me, you know I'm going to speak my mind. You can't sit up there and tell me you voted for Donald Trump and then want to question me and then feel like we're going to have dialogue on your terms. No, sugar dumpling, that's not how this works. Because months ago, when some of you all posted stuff in support of him, I messaged and said, could you tell me why you voting for Donald Trump? We have to have dialogue. Let's see. Not one of you all answered me. Not one of you all answered me. Yet after the fact, now everybody want to call me privately or message me privately or text me privately to have the discussion because they don't want it to be in an open forum. Oh no, stand by your truth. If you voted for Donald Trump, you're a racist. You are. So stand in that. If you can post the same stuff on your page, then be able to deal with the backlash that's going to come with that. You can't pick and choose. You can't cherry pick. That's not how this works. And many of y'all that I grew up with are from Italian and Irish descent, and you got a problem with immigration, and most of y'all are first, maybe second generation here. Y'all people are foreign as sugar. Let's not pretend it's not what it is. And imagine somebody telling your own, oh, we're going to build a wall, or we're going to build a fence, and they can't come over here. Y'all would have been outraged, completely outraged, but it's acceptable because he's talking about Hispanics. It's acceptable because it doesn't necessarily relate to you. 62% of white men voted for Donald Trump and 63% white women voted for Donald Trump. Don't tell me, do not tell me that y'all aren't racist. And one thing we know for sure is that white folks stick together because those men chose to vote over their skin color, over their gender. And you women chose your skin color over your gender. Everybody smiling in your face? Let's talk numbers. You got 10 friends? 6 of those 10 friends voted for Donald Trump. 6 of those 10 friends voted for Donald Trump. Everybody sat around having these conversations and saying, oh, no, I'm outraged. I can't believe it. There's no way. On and on and on. Yet the polls spoke volumes because the numbers didn't lie. Many people we know smiled in our face and said they voted for Hillary and still are probably putting things out there like they voted for Hillary, and behind closed doors when it was time to circle in the name, they chose Donald Trump. Barack Obama is the 44th president of the United States. The first black president, first black lady, first lady. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where they live, was built by slaves. And they are going to pass the torch to a man whose platform was openly backed by the KKK. And you all don't think you racist? There's no way in the world someone could have predicted that from the first black president, we would get the first openly racist president. The KKK Donald Trump absolutely is all of those things, because when these people came to his rallies and backed him, he didn't stand up and say, oh, no, 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 no. Let me let you guys know right now. I know that there are people out there from the KKK preaching my name, saying this stuff, but I don't support that. That's not a representation of me. Oh, no. He stood with it. He stood with it. So if you stood with it like he stood with it, you are exactly who he is. Building a wall for immigration. Don't get me wrong. Are there certain policies that need to be in place when we come and deal with immigration? Absolutely. But we need cold, hard facts. We need reality. You can't be the president for some and not the president for all. You can't pick and choose and cherry pick. You voted for Donald Trump, then you're basically saying I got a right to profile blacks. I got a right to profile gays. I got a right to profile Muslims on the street corner. What gives you the right to feel like you're superior over somebody else? That's a major issue with some of y'all white people, that white superiority. This is where all of this with me is coming from, because you feel like it's your right to put my black ass in my place. How dare she question why I voted for Donald Trump? Let me question her, and she better answer. Bitch, when and where? No, no, no. I am from my ancestors, but I'm not them. They didn't have certain rights. And if you think you're going to roll up on me talking that foolishness and think you're going to disrespect me, I'm not the baddest chick on the block. But one thing you better know is you ain't going down without a fight, honey. I'm not going to stand back and tolerate and take that disrespect, whether I've known you for 20 years or known you for 20 seconds. Now what? Something like 14% of black men voted for Donald Trump. Nigga. What the hell and what the hell again? Because if he get in office, he gonna bring back stop and frisk. He get in office, he gonna do all kind of things to hold you further back and profile you even more. So what and where did you think that you were doing by voting for Donald Trump? What did he say in all these months that would make you think he's gonna be a representation of me, a positive representation of me? What? Excuse me? Never in my life. My mother grew up in Mississippi. My father is from South Carolina. Mississippi is probably the most still racist state. And she did her job. Because many of you people who supported Trump that I know, my strength came from her understanding from before me and my brother were born, that I need my children to be educated in and around white folks because that's where the quality is. But their blackness and their heritage and who they are is going to be taught in the home. She didn't leave that responsibility up to somebody else to teach me and my brother and the family who we were. Somebody who can't relate can't teach me about who I am. That's how I know that your ass is a racist if you've been smiling in my face and still voted for Donald Trump. I'm not a fool. White folks absolutely have been very good to me, but I can call you out too as I see fit, because if the tables was turned and President Obama had been running and spoke out of his mouth the same way that Donald Trump has, his ass would have been gunned down a long time ago. He would have never made it to the finish line, but y'all let this man get all the way to the finish line. So now what, black people? We gonna get in formation? We do what we do, and we're always so surprised by the outcome. We get mad for a minute, but we don't follow through with anything, which is why we're at the bottom, which is why our communities are run down. I'm not here to take digs at anybody's parenting skills, but let me say this. We got enough rappers and we got enough athletes. We need to start pushing our kids to the importance of education and the reality of what they can achieve, because becoming the next Jay-Z or LeBron James or Michael Jordan or all these people I don't even know, guess what? They got a 1 in 100 million chance of even getting half of what God granted those people with. Why are we not pushing education on our children so we can have our own doctors and have our own lawyers, have our own judges, have our own businessmen and women that are running real successful businesses? Architects, engineers, bankers. Don't talk to me about feeling oppressed when you walk into the bank because you can't get a loan, but nobody in the bank looks like you. What? No, we need our own black educators. Y'all are pushing y'all kids in one direction and leaving the door open for everybody and everything else. Don't talk to me about us not getting a fair playing game in the courtroom when we don't even want to do jury duty. And the people who are protesting in regards to Donald Trump being elected, do what you want. Riots, as we know, are the voice of the unheard, and there's black and white people out there rioting, and Hispanics and Asians and everybody. But let me just say this for you blacks. Be mindful when you say things like the rules need to change, the laws need to change, because we don't have people sitting at the table that look like us. So if laws and things like that start getting changed, guess what? Guess who is not going to be represented, because nobody at the table is going to fight for our needs and our concerns. So be careful. Be careful, because we don't have that much power to move certain mountains and make certain changes. So when you say things like this needs to be changed, or we got to fix this, or we got to hold on, because when the powers that be don't look like me, it's time to come to the table. It's going to be further pushing you down the line. We need black politicians, but we need ones that have integrity. You can be opinionated, but there is no way that you can have limitations about a person's well-being or certain rights, and you're solely basing it off of the color of their skin or religion or their gender. How dare you feel like anybody doesn't have the right to love or marry or live their life? You think I give a damn what's going on next door to me? Hell no. If it were 2 gay men or 2 gay women over there, or a trans man or trans woman, you think I care? Explain to me how they affected my life in a negative way. Don't talk to me about God. Don't talk to me about the Bible, because y'all who trying to use that as an excuse are some lying, scheming, scamming, abortion-having adulterers. So don't talk to me, because y'all done broke every commandment that there is. We can't pick and choose. You don't have a right to tell somebody else what to do. So many women voted for Donald Trump. These are the same people that are mothers with daughters. What example are you setting? Because this here goes down in the history books. This is not going to be swept under the rug, and the kids are not going to be able to Google this 50, 60, 70 years from now. Like, it's etched in stone. Y'all voted him in as the 45th president. And I don't think that Donald Trump himself thought he was going to win, which is why in the weeks leading up to it, he said, oh, I'm going to, protest, and I'm not going to respect and accept the outcome. No, I think he thought in his own mind, too, that he wasn't going all the way. And when he got it, it was like, oh, shit. Now what am I supposed to do? Now I'm going to really have to figure something out. Y'all supported a man that was a walking contradiction. He got so much against immigration when his current wife is a foreigner, and so was the first wife. The scary thing is this is what goes on behind closed doors with people who think like that. They're raising children that are going to school with our children. They're raising the teachers that are teaching our kids. You think I would leave my child in a classroom with a teacher that I know openly voted for Donald Trump? Hell no. Because if you voted, you believe what he believed. So you looking at my black son, my black daughter, my Hispanic son, Hispanic daughter, if I were Muslim, my Muslim religion, you looking at my child like a thug? You looking at my child like a terrorist. And while you up here coddling the other kids that don't look like mine, you downplaying the ambition that my child has, because that does happen. My mother didn't break balls at Lawrence Public School District for no reason. As a child, I didn't see things that she saw. I didn't see things that she saw in people that she knew. Y'all ain't gonna come up in here and have my child be the only black in the class and then think that you gonna coddle Munchell or pacify Munchell. My daughter is in here reading above level like everybody else. So when these Jewish parents make sure that these white kids is getting their education, my kids is gonna get it too. Face to face with coaches and everybody else. Oh, no. You can play them games with somebody else. I know you're kind, and I'm not tolerating that. And she learned that from the Jewish people who took her under her wing and said, let me explain to you what goes on behind closed doors. Let me tell you what people will say and what they think. And these are the things that you need to do in order to maintain and be ahead of the game, or at least be on level playing field. I don't know what to say. I really am utterly speechless and shocked and baffled that a man who is living in a house at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, built by slaves, is going to pass the torch to a man openly backed by the KKK. Wow. Think about what I just said. And I'm not supposed to look at you like a racist. I'm not supposed to call you that. Why? Because you know me. I thought I knew you. I've always said if the lines are drawn in the sand, that everybody else would stand with their own. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a real thing to say. And many of you prove that. I think the most shocking thing out of all of this is so many young people, my age and younger, who voted for Donald Trump. People my mother's age and older, I get it, because they come from a different time if they chose to vote that way. Not saying it's acceptable, but it's more understandable. But people in my age group and younger, we didn't grow up in segregation. We didn't grow up in the Jim Crow era and things of that. No, we don't know anything about that. So how and why did you feel like voting for Donald Trump was going to be the representation for you? And if you feel like you were angry because Bernie Sanders didn't make it as far as Hillary and retaliation, you're going to vote for Donald Trump, you're a fool. You're a fool. And when we try to educate you young people, y'all fight us and resist the whole way. Regardless, Republican, Democrat, when people try to educate you about what's really going on and who really has the power and what you should be doing, y'all fight us tooth and nail. So who's going to be the one that benefits and who's going to be the one that suffers? What we going to do, black people? Now everybody is woke. Donald Trump being elected, best thing to happen. Because he took it right between the eyes. And be mindful of that. Now everybody wants the system fixed because it didn't work in their favor. The same way it was when O.J. Simpson got off for killing 2 white folks. There was a judicial system put in place to enslave and hold back and divide minorities. Let's call it what it is. And when it didn't work in your favor, oh, now we got to change it. But when George Zimmerman got off for killing a 17-year-old, none of y'all had nothing to say. None of y'all had nothing to say. You didn't call for any issues. I have always been open with my volunteerism, the way I choose to protest. I'm not really out there in the streets and certain things. I know I can get the same type of work done, writing letters and senators, and that's how I do it, because I know myself. You're not going to put me out there to protest and have me standing face to face with a trigger-happy, overzealous, scary kind of cop. I'm respectful, but if you disrespect me, you're going to get it back. I don't care about uniforms and none of that, because we people at the end of the day. Respect me, and I'll respect you. But we tend to get riled and don't follow through with anything. No difference than that damn Colin Kaepernick. You motherfucker. Nigga. Are you kidding me? You got the whole world turned upside down because you chose to say, you know what? I need to call out the injustices of the world. Star Spangled Banner is not a representation of everybody because the wording doesn't pertain to what's going on in the world, so I'm going to kneel. Some people supported you, some people didn't. I didn't even know who you were. I still don't even know what team you play for, child. But I always do research before I open my mouth. So I said, let me see. You are the product of a white mother and a black father, if I read correctly. And you chose to not get your ass up and even vote when your father's people and your daddy, some 30, 40 years ago, 50 maybe, would have been hanging from a tree for even looking in the direction of your mama. And she would have been killed too because she would have been classified as a nigger lover. Your ass would have been dead right along with them. And you didn't get up and vote? Are we being punked? And that's the problem. We look into certain black people to be our leadership, and these people sort of kind of get up there and then get a little momentum, and then they want to sit back down and say, no, I don't think this is for me. No, this ain't what I want to do. You got the whole world tripping out. Some people really calling you courageous, and you didn't even get your black ass up and vote, nigga. Laughing stock of the world. And that's what happens in our communities. We want to get excited for a few minutes, but then we killing everybody else in our own communities. We not taking a stand. And the people who have made it in our communities, they so busy dabbing and popping bottles and trying to be like the Kardashians, they not thinking about their own people. They not thinking about realistically coming back and using their platform for something else. And the ones that do, we calling them sellouts. Or y'all don't want to be bothered. Colin Kaepernick and the protest that he got is no different than the situation Beyonce got. Y'all want to hip hop and dance with niggas, but don't want to go to jail with niggas. You don't want to deal with the fight. Long as she was up there gyrating and bootylicious, Beyonce was the greatest thing in the world. Soon as she opened up her mouth a day late and $1 short about formation, now we got a problem. Oh no, we can't support her and how dare her. The fact that somebody even had to say Black Lives Matter, all of y'all should have been outraged, but that wasn't the case. I'm not supposed to look at you differently knowing you voted for Donald Trump. I'm supposed to turn a blind eye. Yet you want me and everybody who looked like me to be outraged over Columbine and over Newtown and movie theaters being shot up. Not one of y'all, and I'm speaking specifically to the people I know, the Jewish ones, the Italian ones, the Irish ones, with the exception of a couple, but majority of y'all Y'all didn't post one thing when that white boy walked into that church in South Carolina and killed them 9 innocent black people and was apprehended by the police and then taken to Burger King to get food before he ever stepped his foot into a jail. Did you hear what I said? Y'all don't give a damn about me and my people, so what the hell am I supposed to sit up here and not call you out for who you really are? Not one of you. Nobody was outraged about Trayvon that didn't look like me. Are y'all kidding me? And going forward, I didn't delete none of y'all because I still pay attention and observe a whole lot. You can start posting videos and posting things now like, oh no, I'm so outraged. I can see right through it because you weren't doing it in the beginning. But don't tell me that I know you and you should know better and I would never be when you pretend to turn a blind eye to the struggle. The Holocaust may not affect me the same way as civil rights or slavery, but I am aware that it existed and it was inhumane and outrageously horrific. But you all turn a blind eye to anything that doesn't apply. Black Lives Matter is a threat, is a problem to you. You should be saying the reality that a police officer has to be overly excessive every time it's a person of color is what you should be saying. Nobody said you're anti-police if you're pro-Black Lives Matter or anything that speaks out against excessively people who abuse, their power. Where did you correlate the two? And if I say that somehow it's wrong, but you can say it and be right, fuck out of here with your bullshit. Never did I think in 2016 would it be this. Never. Never in my life. Pardon me, I'm looking at my notes. I want to make sure I don't forget nothing. Duh. Another question that was posed to me had something to do with interracial dating from mutual people that I know too. Very true. Because a lot of you Irish girls and Italian girls love black men, honey. And many of y'all that I grew up with would bow down to the big black D, and you have. And couldn't wait to get your legs around the body of a black man. Well, let me tell you something. When you don't pretend that you see the struggle and the oppression, that's where the problem comes into play. Because what you fetish over and are infatuated over is a representation of your kids that you choose to procreate with. You can't sit up here and procreate and marry a black man and then pretend like you don't see the issue and the plight that he's dealing with. Because when the cops come to the door, your husband is not going to get a pass because they look over and see his white wife standing in the corner. When the cops pull your black son over in the car, I don't care how light his skin is or curly that hair is. They gonna see that hue and realize, oh, he got a little bit something else going on in here. He's not gonna get a pass because of the color of his skin. You still black. Y'all want to be all up in our face and loving and we're all one. And when it's time to stand firm and say, you know what, we need to speak out, nobody does that. Black people ain't never had a certain type of power. Laws and things like that and protests that were successful came about because we had white people that were like, hold on, we have to speak about this being a problem. Black or white, this is wrong. Y'all won't do that. But then I'm supposed to just take it and take one on the chin and take one on the team because we broke bread together and I knew you. A lot of Freedom Riders, Sugar, were white folks. Many of them. Goodman, Sherner, and Swaney, two of them were white. And they were trying to get voting rights in the South for blacks. Young white boys, too. So don't pretend like you don't see the plight. You don't have to necessarily relate to be a human and say, I got a problem with this. And what can we do? How can we help? This is unacceptable. Y'all going in a classroom full of kids or on a field full of kids or sitting in these fancy offices and behind it all, you looking and single-handedly picking out certain people that you feel need to be a representation of only some of what you said you are instead of who you really are? Bitch, bye. Never. Ever, never. For those of y'all blacks who didn't get up off y'all asses and even vote, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Because if your vote did not count, white people who are in the business of hindering you would not be here. If your vote did not count, they would not have placed Jim Crow laws and certain sanctions around to prevent you from voting. Because if it didn't count, they'd be like, what? If they vote, they vote. If they don't, they don't. Obviously, your vote does count if people spend so much time trying to stop you from voting. And y'all motherfuckers didn't get up. Like, are you kidding me? And y'all are the same ones who kids can't read up to level, out here double digits sucking their thumb, still pissing in the bed, okay, can barely multiply their letters, but y'all standing on lines for Jordans for them. Y'all standing on line for North Face jackets and PlayStation games and all of this, but you would have the audacity to open up your mouth and say, I'm not getting out there to stand on no lines and I'm not voting and I don't like either one. Please. And most of y'all with that mentality is sitting on your ass collecting checks that come from my tax dollars. What do you think this Republican is going to do to those services and those benefits that you've allowed yourself to become dependent on? You think your vote don't count now? We shall see. We shall see. Because you're going to learn today. Because if you think Donald Trump has no intention of following through with everything that he said he was going to do, he going to do his best. And because y'all didn't vote, the Senate and the House is still Republican. So guess what? They're going to support him. This is not going to be resistance that President Obama got because his house was divided. Everybody that's in there now is going to stand with everything that Trump does. So now what? I've always been open to dialogue. I've always said that. But we can have the conversation, but what you're not going to do is be passive aggressive with me. What you're not going to do is be condescending when you talk to me. What you're not going to do is try to play me like I don't have some sense in this big ass head. Because many people I grew up with, especially y'all white ones, we all are educated, but on paper, I got a lot more than some of y'all too. So you're not going to play me for no fool either. You wanted my opinion about all of this, and there it is. We shall see. You want us to turn a blind eye and give him a fair chance. Y'all didn't give President Obama no fair chance. At all. At all, at all, at all. And we supposed to just pretend like everything that has been said over the last 8 years wasn't said? Never in our lives could I have thought in 2016 that this would be the reality. Ever. And for many of you to vote the way that you did, that I thought that I knew. People in older, a little different, still not acceptable, but I get it. But y'all youngsters, and then think we gonna continue to break bread? Please. I'm not deleting nobody, and I can speak to anybody, but just know that I see you. Hillary Clinton. I voted for you in 2008. You didn't make it all the way to the end, but in the beginning, you had my vote. And I've always said that I wanted you in the White House before Obama because I knew that a black man could not come in behind the Grand Wizard's son and fix all that he did. But I'm disappointed. And I'm disappointed that you chose not to address the crowd when you lost. Baby girl, you don't ever let nobody see you sweat. And I know you were humiliated beyond repair. I know what it's like to be overpassed in the workplace by somebody that's not qualified. I know humiliation when I see it, sugar. And even if you were bawling your eyes out, you come out there and you stand strong in the face of that adversity. A lot of people backed you from day one. And I know you were probably a wreck, but you still should have addressed the crowd that have been waiting for you and working so hard for you from day one. I don't understand. I don't know why you didn't win outside of it was strategically for you being a woman. Because for me, I base my stuff off of qualifications and experience. And you've been in the White House already, even though you were a first lady, you knew what to expect and what to deal with coming in. That's why I wanted you there in 2008. You could have kind of fixed and gotten certain things in order. Not saying that it had to be easier so when the black man come in because he can't handle the hard work. No. But I just know certain things, how we operate when it comes to our own people. And from my mouth to your ears, you don't have no reason to hang your head in shame. I feel that you should bow out gracefully from politics altogether.